Good morning, dear Sangha. Today is the 18th of June in the year 2009 in the Dharma Cloud Temple, Upper Hamlet, during our 21-day retreat. Yesterday we spoke about the three doors of liberation. And that is the practice of concentration. The ninth exercise on mindful breathing is to be aware of any mental formation that manifests in us. And the 10 is to gladden our mind. And the 11 is to concentrate our mind. The other day we spoke about the three doors of liberation. That is the three kinds of concentration that are taught in every school of Buddhism. And to concentrate means to use the power of looking deeply in order to discover the nature of emptiness, of signlessness and aimlessness. We see very clearly that in the tradition of Buddhism, we do not promise a kind of paradise or pure land or salvation in the future. In fact, we practice looking deeply in order to liberate us. And we find out that everything we are looking for is already there in the present moment, in the here and the now. So this is not a promise. This is a practice that helps us to waken up to our own reality and the reality of the world. We know that to concentrate is always to concentrate on something. And when we speak about the concentration of emptiness, we know that emptiness is the nature of everything that is. So when we look at a leaf, a pebble, of a cloud, we should be able to see the true nature of emptiness in them. When we look at a person, a tree, a river, we should be able to see the true nature of emptiness in all these things. So emptiness should not be abstract idea, but a kind of insight that we discover when we touch, when we observe, we come in touch with everything that is, including our body, our feelings. The same thing is true with signlessness. Everything we observe, including our body, our feeling, a cloud, a tree, we have to observe in such a way that we can break through to the appearance, to the sign, in order to see the real nature of everything, because it is the sign, it is the appearance that deceive us. The sign is always deceiving. So we should be very aware of deception as a result of our relying too much on the form. We have to explore, to study, and to apply these meditation, these concentrations in a concrete way in order to really solve our problems. In the Sutra of Mindful Breathing, the 12th exercise proposed by the Buddha is to liberate the mind, to liberate us from that mental formation. Also, to liberate means to liberate of something. And in the Buddhist tradition, we speak of the 10 kinds of fetters, the 10 kinds of bonds that deprive us of our freedom. And to liberate means to liberate from these 10 fetters. They bind us. They are called samyojana. And in Chinese it is translated as Tieng Shi. Tieng means to bind, and Shi means they push you to do and to say things that you don't want to do and to say. They are very powerful. So you have to practice concentration in order to be able to untie these kind of fetters. And the first is the first samyojana is craving. There is the danger of craving, because we believe that the object of our craving is what we really want, is what can really bring us happiness. But we don't really see the danger of running after the object of our craving. And with craving in us, we are not in peace anymore. We are not satisfied with what we are, with who we are. We are not satisfied with our situation. We cannot feel that we are happy in the here and the now. The teaching of the Buddha about living happily right in the here and the now is based on the fact that if we practice looking deeply, we see that we have enough conditions to be happy in the here and the now. But if there is the flame of craving that is inside, we don't have the capacity to do that anymore. We believe that without that object of craving, we cannot be really happy. So we lose all our peace, we lose our capacity of being happy in the here and the now. So that is one of the 10 fetters. We have to undo that fetter. And later on there will be an exercise on how to look at the objects of our craving in order to see the danger of running after the objects of our craving. And the Buddha used so many images. It's like one of the images is like someone holding a torch and going against the wind. So the torch and the fire will burn his hand. So that is the danger of craving. The second image that Buddha proposed is a dog running after a piece of bone. That is only a bone. And even if the dog has the bone and try to do everything he could with the bone, he will never be satisfied. Because in the bone there is no meat, no juice left. This is a bone. And sometimes it is a bone made of plastic. So the object of craving is like that. It can never satisfy us. So the image of a bone caught by a dog is a second image that the Buddha proposed. And the third image is the image of a hook that a fisherman used to catch the fish. And you have a very appealing bait, and the hook bring the bait, and the hook was thrown into the river. And when the fish saw the bait is so appealing, and he wants to bite, but the fish does not know that inside of the bait there is a hook. So the object of our craving is like that. The danger hidden in the object of our craving. And sometimes the bait is also made of plastic. The fish cannot eat it. It is very appealing. So you have to look deeply in order to see the true nature of the object of craving. And if we see clearly, we are not appealing, it's not attractive anymore, and we are free. That is why looking deeply and to see the danger of the object of craving So craving is the first of the 10 fetters. The second is violence, anger. The flame of anger destroys as much as the flame of craving. When anger inhabits us, we have no peace, we have no capacity of being happy in the here and the now. And that is why we have to practice looking deeply, to practice concentration, in order to see that that anger has been born from ignorance, from wrong views, and so on. Understanding the first noble truth, the second one, we'll be able to overcome our anger and untie the knots of anger. In fact, samyojana can be translated as knots. So if a practitioner is feel that anger is in him, in her, and she has to practice in such a way that she can untie the knot of anger in her, and that brings liberation, liberating the mind. The third is ignorance. Ignorance is wrong views. We are confused. We don't know where to go and what to do and what not to do. We are confused. And we do the wrong thing. We say the wrong thing because we are ignorant. We don't know what is right and what is wrong. And that is the third kind of fetter we have to undo. The fourth is complex of superiority, of inferiority, and of equality. That is because we have a notion of self, and we compare that self with the other self. That is why the three complexes will arise. We suffer because of these three kinds of complex. And the fifth is doubt. Doubt. Suspicion, and doubt. And when we have that suspicion, that doubt in us, we are not in peace, we are not free. And our suspicion, our doubt can also come from our ignorance. And And next is views. Kiến. Of course, the views here is wrong views, not right views. And there are 5 kinds of views that could be termed as wrong view. The first view is that you believe that the body, this body is yourself. Thân kiến. Thân kiến. You simply believe that you are this body. So if you believe like that, it means that with this disintegration of this body, you are no longer there. And you believe that before the formation of this body, you were not there. So there are many effects that come from that kind of wrong view. The second is to believe in pairs of opposite. You believe that the right is totally other than the left. There is a birth, there is a death, there is inside, there is outside, there is a being, there is non-being, there is sameness, there is otherness. All these concepts that form pairs of opposite. If you are caught in it, that is wrong views. The teaching of Buddha help us to transcend pairs of opposites in order for us to come to a view free from all view, that is the middle way. The middle way is the way transcending all pairs of opposite, including being and non-being, birth and death, inside and outside, object and subject. This is very, very deep, very wonderful teaching. This is called a thân kiến. Thân kiến, body as a self. And being kiến, believing in extreme. And then the next is a kiến thủ kiến. Attachment to views. You learn something. You have a notion. You are caught by that notion. And that is the end of your progress on the spiritual path. So whatever you have learned, whatever you have heard, you should be careful. You should not consider it to be the absolute truth. You should be able to let it go in order for you to be able to come to a higher truth. It's like in science, if you have discovered something, and if you believe that to be the ultimate truth, and then you don't search anymore, you are not a true scientist. So in order to progress in our path, we have to be ready to release our view, release our understanding. It's like climbing on a ladder. If you have come up to the 4th step, and if you think that you are the highest, and then there's no more climbing. You have to abandon to release the 4th in order to get to the 5th. And when you have got to the 5th, you should be ready to release the 5th in order to come to the 6th. So knowledge as obstacle for knowledge. So if you see something, you understand something, be sure that that's something you can release in the future in order to get to a higher kind of truth. That is the teaching on non-attachment to views. I think that's very scientific. Tà kiến, perverted view. Perverted view. Suppose you believe that things just happened by chance. There is no cause and effect. That is a kind of perverted view, wrong views. The law is that when you sow the beans, the seed of the beans, you will harvest the beans. When you sow the seed of anger, you harvest anger. But you don't believe in the law of cause and effect. You think that everything is just by chance. Or when you observe one thing, deeply you see that that thing manifests because of many conditions coming together. But you believe that you don't need many things coming together, you need only one cause. That is the kind of view that is perverted. You don't believe in the Four Noble Truths, that suffering has come from a way of living that is full of wrong perceptions and wrong thinking, wrong speech, wrong action. You believe that suffering just comes like that without any cause. So that is a wrong view. And then the last one is giới cấm thủ. Giới cấm thủ kiến. That is attachment to taboos and to rituals. You believe that performing such a ritual you can get liberation, salvation. You are caught by the rituals. You believe that you can eat every kind of meat except beef, because eating beef will prevent you from being saved. You believe that you can eat every kind of meat except pork. So that is the kind of taboo, that kind of precept, that kind of rituals, that you can get caught in it. The fact is that with understanding you can liberate. It's not by performing rituals and things and observing taboos that you can get liberation. So these are 10 kind of fetters that we should be liberated from in order for us to be free and happy. So giới tâm của Thúc Tiếng is to believe in taboos and in rituals. Both of you, Buddha and you, are empty in nature. So that is a kind of looking deeply, and that has the power of liberating. And if we don't do that, we believe that bowing to the Buddha is an act of devotion that will help you to be safe, and that is the case where you are caught in rituals. It's like in the performance of the Eucharist, the priest break the bread and give it to you, and give the wine for you to drink. And if you believe that that is really the blood of Jesus and the flesh of Jesus, you are caught by rituals. In fact, in Plum Village, every time you hold a piece of bread, you have to look deeply, and we see that the piece of bread is the body of the whole cosmos. Because in the piece of bread you see the sunshine, the cloud, the earth, everything. The whole cosmos is in the bread. So when you eat the bread, you are in real touch with the cosmos. And that is a practice of mindfulness and insight that will liberate you. So when the priest perform the Eucharist, they want you to be alive. They want you to be in touch with Jesus Christ that is a reality in you. And if you think that you are and also the priest, when he performs the ritual, he should perform in such a way that the whole congregation become alive in the here and the now. It's like when we invite the bell. Everyone come home to the here and the now and become alive. And if we don't become alive, we just keep silent like a ritual, we are caught. We do the same thing, but in different ways. So the Eucharist also like that. When a priest celebrates the Eucharist, he should become alive, and the congregation in the church should become alive with him, and that is the aim of the rituals. It's not because it's not possible that he can automatically do the rituals, and that is to be caught in the rituals, because we don't get anything except the rituals. But communion is something possible when you are truly alive, and you feel that you are in Christ and Christ is in you, and that is what you want, and not just the performance of rituals. So the same thing is true in every tradition. we are easily caught in the rituals. And that is one of the fetters we have to break through. So when we organize a day of mindfulness for people to come, we have to organize in such a way that every moment of the day of mindfulness should be a moment of mindfulness, a moment of joy, of peace, of freedom. Otherwise, even the day is full with sitting, walking, chanting, but it's empty of life, it's empty of joy and peace, so you are caught in the rituals. Sitting meditation can be a ritual. Walking meditation can be a ritual, chanting can be a ritual, and that is one fetter. And the Sutra of Mindful Breathing, the 13th, from the 13th on, we come to the area of perception. And the 13th exercise of mindful breathing is on the contemplation of impermanence. Contemplating impermanence. I breathe in. The many teachers teach impermanence, including Confucius. And we agree with each other as things are impermanent. Everything is changing. But that does not help very much if you agree with the reality of impermanence. But impermanence here should be used as an instrument and not just an idea. Impermanence here should be used as a samadhi. It means a concentration. All day long, when you get in touch with everything, you are capable of seeing the impermanence of all these things. Your partner, for instance, every time you look at her, you see that she is impermanent. And you see yourself also as impermanent. Because we have the tendency to believe in permanence. When you look at the family album, we see ourselves as a 5-year-old boy or 5-year-old girl. And if you compare that image of the 5-year-old child with us now, we see that there is a big difference. We are very different as far as the body is concerned. Very different as far as the feelings and perceptions are concerned. We are so different. So you can see the big difference between the 5-year-old child and us. We see impermanence. And yet, we suddenly believe that we are the same person always. We suddenly believe that we are always the same person. So our idea of impermanence does not help. Only a deep concentration on the nature of impermanence can help. And impermanence is not a negative note in the music, because if you realize that everything is impermanent, you will treasure more what is there. So if you know that your beloved one is impermanent, you will cherish every moment you can spend with him or her. And when you see the impermanence of things, you see these things are more beautiful, like a shooting star. A shooting star just exists in 1 second. That is why it's so beautiful. The fireworks, very beautiful because they don't last. So when you get angry at your beloved one, and you intend to say something to punish him or her, because she has dared to make you suffer, and then you have to contemplate impermanence. Close your eyes and visualize your beloved one 300 years from now. You will not be there in this form, and she will not be there in that form either. And then when you touch the nature of impermanence in the person of your beloved one, when you are able to touch the nature of impermanence in yourself, and that can be done in a few seconds. You open your eyes and your anger is gone, and you cherish this moment where she is still alive and you are still alive. So you may like to hold that person in your arms and say, you are still alive, I am still here. So anger can be removed just by the contemplation of impermanence. And if you have not seen the nature of interbeing, if you have not seen the nature of no self, of dependent origination, you have not seen impermanence. And that is why contemplating impermanence means contemplating the nature of interbeing, of no self, of dependent origination. And impermanence is an instrument, not more than that, not the absolute truth that you have to proclaim over all other kind of truth. You have to overcome the notion of impermanence, because the impermanence is not a notion, that is only an instrument. Suppose we ask the question, what is impermanent? Dear Buddha, you taught us, you teach us that everything is impermanent. Please tell us, what is impermanent? The tree is impermanent, the cloud is impermanent, or what? What is impermanent? Impermanent is an adjective, and there should be a noun. Going together with that adjective, because the adjective qualified a noun. Impermanence means that nothing can remain the same thing in two consecutive moments, right? It means that something can only exist in one point instant. And in the next moment, something is there, something else is there. Not exactly the same thing. So the notion of impermanence is impossible, because there must be something that is lasting in order for it to be impermanent. But you don't see something like that. So semantically, it is absurd to say that everything is impermanent. In fact, everything is only for one short moment. A millisecond only. And that is it. If that does not last, how can we say that it's impermanent? So the idea of impermanence should be transcended. We imagine that impermanence is the appearance, the outside appearance of something, and inside there is something that is lasting, and that's something where the mark of impermanence. But in fact, impermanence means that you cannot remain the same person in two consecutive moments. So to say that everything is impermanent does not sound, is not correct. Có người nào không hiểu không? Too complicated, no? Before the Buddha's passing away, he uttered a very beautiful gatha. This is seen in the Mahaparinirvana Sutta. Chư hạnh vô thường, all formation are impermanent. Every formation is impermanent. All formations are impermanent. Thì sinh diệt pháp. They are the things that have to go through birth and death. All formations, sattva, samskara, anitya. Every formation is impermanent, because they are all phenomena that have to go through birth and death. And come the third line, sinh diệt diệt dĩ. Tịch diệt vi lạc. But when both birth and death dies, and then nirvana becomes the source of happiness. Sinh diệt diệt dĩ, tịch diệt vi lạc. But when the notion of birth and death are removed, and then that kind of extinction is called happiness. I think many people have mistranslated this gatha, especially in the southern tradition. We can divide the gatha into two parts, and this deal with the first two lines deal with the historical dimension, and this the second two lines deal with the ultimate dimension. And the first two lines are presenting us the relative truth with notions. And all kind of phenomena, all kind of formations are impermanent. Because all of them have to go through birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. But when you go to the second part of the gatha, you see it's different. But when the notion of birth and death are removed, when birth and death, both of them die, because birth and death are notions and not reality. Because when you practice looking deeply, you see that in the appearance there is birth and death, but deeply there is no birth and death. Let us go back to the cloud in the sky. A cloud can never die. A cloud can never pass from being to non-being. A cloud can become snow or ice or rain, but a cloud cannot become nothing. So it is impossible for a cloud to die. But it is also impossible for a cloud to be born, because to be born means from nothing you become something. From no one you become someone. A cloud is not like that. Before manifesting herself as a cloud, she had been something else, like the water in the ocean, the heat generated by the sun, the water vapor. So she has not come from nothing. So her nature is no birth and no death. So in the beginning, you see that everything is impermanent. They have to go through birth and death. But in the second part, birth and death is our notions. And if you can overcome the notion of birth and death, that extinction of notions make you happy, because you are no longer afraid either of impermanence, of birth and of death. This is one of the most beautiful gathas in the literature of Buddhism. We begin with the notion of impermanence. We begin with the notion of birth and death, but finally we transcend the notion of impermanence. We transcend the notion of birth and death. And no fear becomes possible. And that is why impermanence, looking deeply, it means interdependence, it means interbeing, it means no self, as instruments for meditation. And you should not caught by them. You should not promote them as the absolute truth. The 14th is about the contemplation on no craving. The Sanskrit word is viraga. When you have seen that everything is impermanent, they are interbeing, their nature, the true nature is interbeing, co-arising, and then they stop to be the object of your craving. Because we have the tendency to seek for pleasure. In us, there is a tendency called manas, that always seek to avoid pain and suffering. That's a natural tendency. There's a natural tendency to avoid suffering, to run away from suffering, and to seek pleasure, to run after pleasure. That is natural in us. And that is manas, ikang. And without the insight brought about by the practice of meditation, we continue to behave like that, always trying to run away from suffering, from pain, always trying to run after pleasure. But we know that suffering is important. Suffering can instruct us. If you are not capable to hold your suffering and look into the nature of suffering, you can never see the path leading to transformation and healing. And manas ignore the goodness of suffering. Manas always ignore the goodness of suffering. Manas don't see the play of the mud in the lotus pond. As she believes that lotus is possible without the mud. And manas ignore the danger of running after objects of craving. She's ready to die if she can get it. She's so attracted to the object of her craving that she accepts to die after having got it. But she does not know that the object of craving can bring her a lot of suffering. She does not know that the object of craving is like a piece of bare bone. It will never satisfy us, satisfy the dog. And that is why to meditate means to get an insight about the goodness of suffering, the danger of running after object of our craving, and to help manas, to transmit that insight to manas. And the 15th exercise of mindful breathing is to meditate on the nature of no birth and no death. The nature of nirvana. Nirvana means the removal of all concepts like birth and death. Contemplating nirvana. We have said that nirvana is not a promise. Nirvana is not something in the future that we will attain by the practice of today. Nirvana is already there, the true nature of reality. Nirvana is the removal of all notions and concepts, including the notion of birth and death, permanence and impermanence. Not only the notion of permanence should be removed, but the notion of impermanence should be removed. Not only the notion of self should be removed, the notion of non-self should be removed also. And when all notions, including the notion of birth and death, are removed, and that nirvana, that silence, is called true happiness. No fear. So the 15th exercise is to break through to the nature of no birth and no death, no being and no non-being. The notion of non-being should be removed. The notion of being should be removed also. And nirvana is not the object of our searching, because everything is there in their nirvanic nature. Everything is in nirvana already, and you are in nirvana. Your reality is the reality of no birth and no death. Your reality is the reality of no coming, no going. You are perfectly in nirvana. You have been nirvanized a long time ago from the non-beginning. So it's not the object of our searching anymore. So the cloud that you see floating in the sky, her nature is the nature of nirvana. Her nature is no birth and no death. So the cloud does not have to go and look for nirvana, because she is in nirvana. Her nature is nirvana. So nirvana is not a promise. It is our true nature. And we should wake up to that. That's all. And wake up by removing the notions that we have. And that is why the 16, which is the last exercise on mindful breathing, is to let go, is to throw away all notions. To let go, to throw away all notions. And the Diamond Sutra can help. There are 4 basic sutras, there are 4 basic notions that you have to throw away. The Diamond Sutra is a sutra that is used much in the Zen tradition. And the essential of the teaching is to release 4 notions. The first notion is the notion of self. Of a self. When you look deeply, you see that the self is made only of no self element. So you are free from that notion. Then the second notion is notion of human being. This is very interesting. You have to remove the notion of human being. In the history of life, the human being came last, very recently, just yesterday. And yet we believe ourselves to be exceptional. We have the right over everything else, every other species. We believe that everything else has been created for us. And that is why you have to remove that idea that we can exist, we can be there by ourselves alone. But looking deeply into the human person, we see that the human being is made of non-human elements. Look into us and we see we are made of minerals, vegetables and animals. And if we return all these elements, the human being doesn't exist anymore. So the human is made of non-human elements. And that is why we can say that the Diamond Sutra is the most ancient text on deep ecology. Because if you don't preserve animals, vegetables and minerals, you don't preserve yourself. You have to protect the life of animals, vegetables and minerals in order for man to be protected. So remove the idea that the human person is an independent entity. The human person is made only of non-human elements. And that is clear. We are made of cloud, of earth, of fire, of air. And without these 4 elements, the human being cannot be possible. So remove the notion of human being as a separate entity. The human being cannot be without other species, non-human species. The notion of living beings, of sentient beings, those who have animate life, humans and animals. Human and animals, living beings, cannot exist without the minerals and the vegetables. In the history of life, process of evolution, we come from the minerals, we come from the vegetables, we come from the animals. We have, of course, human ancestors, but we have also animal ancestors, and we have also vegetable ancestors. And we also have mineral ancestors. And that is why to single out living beings with inanimate world is wrong. the dust, the particle, the elementary particle, the quanta, they are us. We are them. And that is why to remove the distinction between living beings and the objective world. There is a distinction between la matière vivante et la matière inerte. A living matter, la matière vivante, et la matière inerte. In fact, scientists of our time have found out that what we call the inanimate world is very intelligent. The elementary particle, the meson, the electron, they are very intelligent. They have intelligence within themselves. And it is very close. You can see them as consciousness. And scientists of our time begin to see intelligence, consciousness in the so-called inanimate thing. They are not so inanimate. They are very alive, very intelligent. They are us. So that notion of living beings as apart from the rest of the world is a wrong notion, should be removed. And the fourth idea to be removed is the idea of lifespan. We believe that in the course of time, there is one moment we believe to be our beginning, the moment of our birth. And there will be a moment that we cease to exist, that moment of our death. And our lifespan begins by B and will end by D. And that is a notion to be removed. Because according to that notion, before B, we did not exist. And after D, we disappear entirely also. So from non-being, we come to being. And from being, we come to non-being again. And that kind of idea should be removed. Our lifespan is not like that. In fact, before B, we go already there. And after D, we will be there. So together with that, the notion of being and non-being, birth and death are removed. And that is why the four notions mentioned by the Diamond Sutra is enough to encompass, to embrace all other kind of notions. So the 14 exercise, the 16 exercise on mindful breathing, they are very complete. In this retreat we have reviewed the Eightfold Path, beginning with right view, and then we have proceeded with right thinking, right speech, right action, and then right livelihood, right diligence, and then right mindfulness, right concentration. And we know that the path proposed by the Buddha, the path, the noble path, the path of the eight right practice, that is the path for everyone, not just for monastics. That is engaged Buddhism. Buddhism in the world, not just for monastics living apart. Because in the noble path, we have right livelihood, right speech, right action. So that is for everyone living in the world. So right in the beginning, Buddhism is engaged Buddhism. And we have seen together that the second noble truth could be viewed as a path, like the fourth. The fourth noble truth is the path leading to the cessation of ill-being, namely leading to well-being. And the second noble truth is also a path leading to ill-being. And if we begin here by right view, it's too logical to begin here with wrong views. And as we proceed, we continue, we have right thinking, over here we have wrong thinking. So it's so simple, and so on. So we agree with each other that the second noble truth can be described as a path. And yesterday we have learned something. We have learned about the four kinds of nutriments. That ill-being can be ill-being, and the path leading to ill-being can be understood in terms of consumption. And that is why the fifth mindfulness training is so important. There's a way of consuming that will lead to ill-being. And there is a way of consuming that will lead to well-being. And four kinds of nutriments, not only edible food, but sensorial impressions, and our deepest desire, our deepest aspiration, and collective consciousness. So we consume these four kinds of. Today we shall do walking meditation to the temple at the foot of the hill, and we have a picnic lunch there. Tomorrow we have a lazy day, wonderful. And after that, the day after tomorrow, we shall have a session of questions and answers to enjoy your day in the upper hamlet.